Good morning and happy summer. It is. If you're wondering what my voice, I've just been running the course with a bad cold. It's just about over, but it's still, my throat's still sore. What is going on? I have a sailing channel and I'm not making sailing videos. So I'm going to be making this video, which is at least boat related, about why Morningstar is staying on the docks this summer, why the captain is not doing any sailing this summer, and of course the biggest part of the reason is all the projects that need to be done, but there's a whole lot of other things I need to explain in the video, which will come as I make the video. Okay, so this is me on Morningstar, and these are the people who pay the big bucks to be just like me. People say, why do you want to be on the docks in Campbell River? Well, obviously I'm not the only ones that want to be on the dock. Look at this baby, the Alliance. And we have pirates, in case you never noticed. Let's go back here. And this is not just your average ship. It's a pirate ship. We even have pirates on the fenders. And there's pirates on the side of this boat. Good morning. It's another day here in paradise. It's kind of overcast, light breeze. It's not a bad day. No, it's warm enough to be out here in a t-shirt, obviously. So let's talk about the dream. The dream. You know, that there's so many young people that have taken to the seas on their sailboat. They've sold everything they've got, bought a bit of an older boat, needs a little bit of work, spent a few years working on it real hard, and then they take to the ocean and they start living their dream. Well, when I was a kid, I used to play on the docks in Campbell River. It was my playground. And my dad used to, like me, wander the docks and talk to people. And I used to do it with him. But he had these friends there that had an old forestry boat, I believe it was. And it was converted to liveaboard and charter boat. I'll have to put some B-roll in there because there was a rattly old, well, they're not old, but dock carts, but they're really noisy when they go by. So anyway, talking about this charter boat, it was called the Bonnie Lass, and it was a beautiful boat, old wooden boat, and this young couple at the time ran it and lived on it. And I thought that this is the dream. This was my dream as a kid, to have a home on the dock, like the Bonnie Lass. And here at 75 years old, I'm not just visiting. My place on the dock is permanent, and my home is my boat, and I'm living on the dock, and I'm living a dream that I had when I was a kid. How awesome is that? So again, talking about the dream, what about the dream of exploring the coast of all the places there is to see in the world? And well, you've never really done that and over. But 55 years ago, I had a little fish boat, and I took it up and down our coast, explored. I was not only fishing, it was a commercial trawler, 30 feet long, and I had spent a couple years fixing up with advice from a good friend of mine's father, who was a very seasoned boat owner, and he led me by the hand, showing me all the things that I had to do to be safe if I was going to take this boat north and into rougher waters. And thanks to Roy, I'm still here. Anyway, yeah, so 55 years ago, I had a book called The BC Pilot. You know, it was a written version of all the spots that you might pull into, tell you if you're going to pull into this cove, watch out for the rock on the entrance. It's not in publication anymore because we have things called chart plotters these days. But in those days, that was my chart plotter, along with a book called Captain Lily's. So if you needed to cross a sound, you opened up Captain Lily's, and it told you the degrees on the compass that you had to follow to make it from one side of the sound to the other. Again, that was our part B of our chart plotter. So, carrying on, let's talk destinations. I have lived in some beautiful spots. Stegnan Bay on Gabriel Island, the Gorge on Cortez Island. These are places I call home on my boat. And now Discovery Harbor, Camel River. And I've had people say when I've, you know, like way back when I was in Degnan Bay, why would you ever want to leave? People go out of their way to try and find a place like Degnan Bay to park their boat on their exploration of the coast. And you're so lucky to be here. Well, I am lucky to be here. And going back to my old dream of living on the ocean, on a boat, and my home at a dock. I don't have to leave to be happy. And I've explored this coast. I worked on the fish boats for decades, big commercial boats as the engineer. We traveled the whole coast, and we've been in at times in weather that if I told the stories about how rough it was, people would think I'm making it up. And we didn't have chart plotters. We had radar and compass, and we used to have to do radar fixes, and we had to look at the charts to see what the depth was, which would tell us approximately where we were. Just saying, we did what was called DR. That was, you had to time your speed that you were going and how long you've traveled, and that would estimate where you were. You had to keep a DR track. You didn't necessarily have a chart plotter that said, okay, you're here, and there's a kelp patch ahead that you got to avoid. Okay, we'll get back into talking about the dream. So I'm talking about these. I watch sailing channels. I have many of my favorites, Uma, Tequila, Harley Revival, and many more. But a lot of these younger folks, they're quite young compared to me, they're so fortunate to be out there doing it. But I watch them gain experience as they go. Ocean experience, life experiences on the ocean. I grew up on the water. Like I said, I grew up playing on the docks back where the Fisherman's Wharf. I'd come home from school and say, "What's for dinner, Mom?" And she'd say, "Would you like fish and chips?" And I said, "Oh, that sounds good." So I knew what I had to do. I had to go down the dock and jig the old cod for dinner. It was just that easy. But I had a raft that I had built, and I got tired of waiting for the tide so I could use it. So I actually docked it underneath the pilings of the main pilings where you drove down to the dock. And underneath there was a big old steel ladder, and I tied it to the pilings underneath so it came up and down with the tides, and I could come home from school and head down to the Fisherman's Wharf, down the steel ladder and onto my raft, and again, the inside the docks was quite a huge area for a raft, and I would poke around, captain of my raft. So again, we're still talking about the dream. I was talking about the raft, but my other brother Daryl was raised by his grandma. He spent as much time at our place as he did his own growing up, and we still see each other these days. His grandma owned this big old rowboat. It was named the M01. Mina and Oscar. That was her boyfriend at the time. The grandmas have boyfriends. And it had 2 rowing stations. It was maybe an 18-foot clinker built. It had an old Briggs Stratton motor in it, which was solid rusted. But when Daryl and I and my brother and possibly Donnie I. Hansen was a local neighbor, that was 4 kids and 1 on each oar like Vikings, and we would take that M01 on rowing trips, which included once, it's about 12 miles round trip to an island called Middlenatch, and it's around the corner of Quadra Island where the tides meet as they come around Vancouver Island. The rips there are so bad at times they have actually sunk boats, and we rode through the rips and around Middlenatch, circumnavigated Middlenatch, and rode back. We were stopped by I think the Coast Guard it was, and they asked us if our motor worked, and we of course lied and said yes, it works perfectly, we just prefer to row. And in those days we never had life jackets, never even thought about it, but we could all swim, and we were in a wooden boat that floated, so what else did we need? But again, so we graduated from rafts to rowboats. So carrying on, talking about the dream, or more like days of my youth. My other brother Daryl and I both wound up with speedboats, and of course that expanded our horizons. We crossed the way on Quadra Island, a place called Gowan Harbor. That was a destination we could roar to even after school, let alone weekends. And then this happened. Our family speedboat, but it was more, I was the only one that used it. I was the oldest, and it was kind of like my boat. But we used to go fishing with it as a family. A seaplane went right through the middle of our speedboat and sank the boat and sank the seaplane. And it's a long story, but boats don't land on seaplanes, and the seaplane company had to buy us a new boat. So I wound up with, our family wound up with a brand new Sangster craft with a brand new 50 Merc, and that expanded our horizons. I could now go and play with speedboats in places like Seymour Narrows, Hole in the Wall, Greenpoint Rapids, Erin Rapids. These are wicked tide places that were a lot of fun when you were a teenager with more courage and brains. So I'm not going to go on and on all through my life about, but the whole point of this little conversation is that, like I said, there's a lot of people that they've been working away at a job, and they've a 9-to-5er, and both of them have, and then they realize that, hey, there's more to life than this, and they sell everything they got, and they buy a boat, and they head out on the ocean, and that's nothing wrong with that. And they gain their experience. I see all the mistakes that all these young people are making while they're out there, and they talk about, oh, we wish we would have known this. Well, guess what? I lived that when I was a kid, and a lot of that stuff, I don't pretend to know it all, but I'm kind of like the AI of living on the ocean and around boats. If you want to talk boats, you can get me talking forever. Okay, so talk about projects. I've got so many projects. Yeah, I started making a list and I got tired just making the list. You
got lots of money and you go to shipyard and you can get a crew of 25 people, 5 people, even 3 people working on the boat to knock out that project. But ever since I've owned this boat, every single project I've done myself. Yes, I don't do welding, and I didn't do the extensive fiberglass when you put the tunnel for the falcon. Anyway, I'm going to go over a few of the projects that
I'm going to start with, I have 3 rigging projects, and they are the major projects for the summer. This is behind the mast roller furling, and it is getting removed. I have a special tool that's going to help me get these stuck bolt heads out. My friend Brian has lent me. So the screwdriver that you hammer. Anyway, hopefully it'll work. So yeah, I'm going to be going to standard. There's a track right here. So a standard lug sail that drops and into a sail bag, which will be on the boom. So that is project 1. My new awesome anchor winch. The project 2 is, you can see that rusty old, I actually just cut it off with a sawzall, the roller furling drum. The roller furling, the old roller furling, which is 30-40 years old, is history, and I have all new roller furling to go on, which is going to include changing the stay. So that's a big project. So we get to the 3rd rigging. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the roller furling for the mizens, and I have a brand new sail, but there's an issue with the brand new sail because it's thicker and heavier than what used to be on here. And if you follow this, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the roller furling tapers in at the top of the mast, and the thicker, heavier sail won't roll up, it hits the mast. So I have a little device to move the top out. I could easily spend a whole video on every project that I want to do or has to be done on the boat. I'm not going to do that. In summary, what is going on is simply I'm retired. There's no rush for me to finish my projects. I'm happy here on the docks. I love it here. It's a dream come true. I will be heading out and sailing in the future after I do get projects done and haul my boat this fall and get that stuff done, and I'll continue making videos, hopefully some more on the subject of boats, but and yes, I will be making awesome videos with my new equipment and editing equipment for you out there in the YouTube land.
What is going on? So, what is the story with my missing tooth? When I was a lad playing on the beach down in Willow Point, which is just south of Camel River, it's a really rocky beach, and I don't know why I was running, but I was running, and I tripped, and I chipped my tooth really badly, and it was like that for 30-something years, maybe longer, I can't remember. So I eventually got all 4 of my top front teeth capped, including the chipped one. And now, another 30 years later, or I don't know, that same chipped tooth, I just can't be a coincidence, started to work loose and painlessly just fell out. So it's on the list, famous list to get it done, but I don't know, I think I need a new mainsail before I need a new tooth.